Another video on data types. This time we're talking about explaining the purpose of different data types. This is looking at, again, at 3.1.1, and the objective is to be able to explain the purpose of data types within code. So I'm going to actually refer to some exam paper questions. So to start us off with, we're going to look at this one. So this is from the sample specification on the AQA website. So which three of the following are common data types that most programming languages provide? So in the last video, the answer would be Boolean is one of them. And we're also looking at integer and character. So although I said this hasn't come up in the previous exams, it is actually in the sample specification material. So character would be the third answer there. So let's look at some of these other things. So except is a keyword used in programming that allows you to catch errors. Length, maybe a variable name. Maximum, maybe a variable name. And while, another keyword that allows you to start a loop. So the data types were Boolean, integer, and character. So we're now going to have a look at a bit more detail. So this is a question from the 2014 paper that expected you to be able to understand the purpose of a data type and point out why one was used over the other. So the question reads, the function compare returns an integer value. Explain why a Boolean return value could have not been used. And what we have is a little snippet of code, and the function is called compare. It takes two parameters, x and y. And what this program basically does is it compares the two numbers and returns a result. So there's three possible scenarios. The fact that the first number is bigger than the second number, or the first number is smaller than the second number, and the last remaining circumstance is that both numbers are covered by the else statement. Both numbers are exactly the same, so then we return 0. So there's three different return values, 1, -1, and 0. So this requires an integer, or another data type might be appropriate, but you have to be able to point out why a Boolean could not be used. And back to your knowledge of what a Boolean actually is. So a Boolean can only ever be true or false. So in this scenario where there's three possible outcomes when comparing numbers, and first is bigger, second is bigger, but also both are the same. So because Boolean only allows true and false, this doesn't cover the scope of what this program is required to do. So some other examples are, so if we're thinking about what is the most appropriate data type to store the user's name, well, the user's name is not going to be numerical data. So therefore, we're going to need the string data type for that one. And for example, if we are asking the user to input something such as their first initial, so similar to the last one. And then here the most appropriate data type would be, because we only need a single character, and we're talking from a pseudocode kind of exam perspective here, then that would probably require a character data type, because I only need a single character. All right, so if I need to do something like initialize a loop to a certain point, so I'm going to make a loop that makes a certain section of code repeat a number of times. So just arbitrarily, I'm going to say print hello. And because this is requiring something to be counted, then this specifies the need for the integer data type. So number would be required to be an integer. Okay, so what we've done in this video is we've looked at when is appropriate to use a Boolean, when would you need to use a string, when would you need to use a character, and briefly touched on when it's more appropriate to use an integer.